Thank you, and a very good morning to all our friends from the media, both from the EFTA countries and India. Today is a watershed moment, the signing of the Trade and Economic Participation Agreement between India and Europe. The European Free Trade Association marks India's first modern FTA with a developed country from the western part, the first European set of nations. We have Switzerland, Norway, Liechtenstein, and Iceland partnering with India. Four developed, very important economic countries. I would like to thank the leaders of the four EFTA partners and Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi for giving guidance and leadership to this effort, which has been culminated today after nearly 16 years of several rounds of negotiations. Of course, the last 9 or 10 months have been very intense negotiations with a joint commitment to conclude an equitable, fair, and balanced free trade agreement between EFTA and India. I would like to thank my colleague ministers, Minister Guy Parmelin, Minister Yani, Minister Yan, and Minister Dominique. I would like to acknowledge the huge contribution of Helene Budlinger from Switzerland and Commerce Secretary Sunil Bartwal, and our two negotiators who did a fabulous job in a short period of time, burning the midnight oil. Marcus from Switzerland, representing EFTA countries, and Satya Srinivas from India. This agreement reflects confidence and trust. It also showcases the growing importance of the relationship between EFTA countries and India, India's growing stature, our commitment to openness, collaboration, and shared prosperity between the people of the five countries. It's an ambitious agreement. It integrates economies and enhances flow of trade and investments. It also focuses on sustainable growth, integrates India with many new global value chains, and promises huge business opportunities and employment opportunities to the people of the five countries. It's an innovative free trade agreement. It considers the sensitivities of all five countries to ensure universally being welcomed by businesses across the five nations. But most importantly, it brings in a new element for the first time in the history of FTAs, where investment commitment has been brought into a free trade agreement to balance the asymmetries between the economies of the EFTA region and the Indian economy, the large benefits that India brings to the table in terms of the demographic dividend, a young aspirational India, large pool of manpower and talent. All of this is being supplemented with innovative technologies and huge investment capabilities of the EFTA countries, thereby bringing both synergy and balance to this agreement. We have ensured that it covers all the modern elements of an FTA, environment and trade, IPR, gender, a number of elements which have been concluded for the first time by India, also reflecting a new resurgent India, full of self-confidence, full of a do spirit, a can-do spirit, and a welcoming spirit where we are looking at engaging with the developed world from a position of strength and confident that our businesses can compete, our people can bring to fruition the benefits of this new FTA. There's a commitment for foreign direct investment flowing from EFTA countries to India of approximately $100 billion in the next 15 years, creating 1 million jobs in India. But in the process, not only giving an avenue for the large pools of capital available with these super developed economies, if I may say, but also helping them to take the benefits of their research and development, innovation, and modern technologies, not only to meet the needs of 1.4 billion Indians, but also to make them at economic and affordable cost, leveraging on the benefits of large economies of scale and affordable manpower, so that the technologies from our EFTA partner countries can meet the needs of the entire world from India. Thank you very much, colleague ministers, for your support. All the 5 countries stand to benefit. We stand to benefit in terms of investment, innovation, and R&D. You stand to benefit from the collaboration in terms of your ability to meet 7 to 8 billion people's needs across the world. I am confident that this agreement will be good for businesses in all the 5 countries. It has been welcomed by all the business communities on both sides. A lot of stakeholder consultation running into hours and hours and hours of multiple meetings, probably several hundred engagements between industry and line ministries in India. This will also provide a conducive trade environment and confidence to businesses and investors on both sides as we integrate India into the European market and with our EFTA partner countries. I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the leadership of all the 4 EFTA partners in helping us create a win-win platform for balanced, sustainable, and economic growth of all the 5 economies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure now to invite Honorable Federal Councillor from Switzerland to give his opening remarks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here today at the Federal Council of Switzerland, representing the EFTA states, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. It is a great moment to talk to you after the important signing of the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement with India. This agreement is more than just text and promises. It is a new link between the EFTA states and India, showing our shared goals and hopes for a future that is prosperous, sustainable, and interconnected. Through this agreement, we open new doors for business and investments, support innovation, and create economic advantages for our people. The path to this point has been long and sometimes hard, but the constant effort from both sides to find a win-win solution has been our guiding light. I want to extend once again my heartfelt thanks to Minister Goyal and his team for their friendship, as well as to my colleagues from EFTA states for their unity and determination. Our message to the world is simple. By working together and respecting each other, we can reach common goal. This agreement shows what we can do together on the world stage. My respected friends from Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and I are now ready to answer any question you might have about this agreement.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Minister from Iceland, please. Norway? Yeah, please. Minister from Norway, please.
Okay, Minister Goyal, dear friends, journalists, Aj, Kadin, Etihasik, here. I think that should be, this is a day for the history books. And friends, this is truly a day for the history books, because what we have created today is tremendous. This is a new way of doing sustainable, fair business, increasing our investments, creating new, safe, good-paying, attractive jobs, making sure that we can reach our common goals, combating climate change, eradicating poverty, bringing prosperity in all our nations. So this is truly a great day. I strongly believe that this agreement, which is so much more than an agreement, it is a partnership, will bring a lot of opportunities for all our countries. Norwegian companies, our sovereignty fund and our climate fund have already invested $25 billion in India. And this will continue to grow now as we move ahead together as friends and partners. We do share many objectives. When you combine your visionary leadership with the technology, with the capital, with the R&D our companies are representing, that's a really powerful combination. India is a true leader in the world. The 5th biggest economy, soon to become the 3rd biggest economy, the biggest democracy on this planet, and we are very proud to be able to sign this agreement today with all those opportunities that means for our companies and for our people. I would like to thank all our EFTA partners and friends, and especially a big thanks to you, Piyush, our friend. If it was not for your truly inspirational leadership, your creativity, your way of working, finding quick solutions, but also being very bold and representing your country in the best possible way, we could never have come to this conclusion today. And I think that's representing true leadership, which we all admire. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Madam Minister from Liechtenstein, please.
So thank you very much, and I just also want to echo, it's a historical day. It's a historical day for the EFTA states. It's a historical day for my country, the Principality of Liechtenstein. And perhaps you may wonder what Liechtenstein can contribute to the new partnership between India and the EFTA states. Of course, Liechtenstein is small in size, but it is also quite strong in opportunities. This means that our businesses can play an important role in facilitating technology collaboration with other countries. What is more, Liechtenstein is also an active player in direct foreign investment. And so, as mentioned before, we are very thankful to all chief negotiators, especially also the delegation from Switzerland, our neighboring country. I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank all negotiators, and of course, especially Minister Goyal. Thank you very much for the warm welcoming and also the wonderful cooperation we had in the past and we will have in the future. And I think where we come from, I said it before, our journey was sometimes also a little bit of roller coasters with up and downs, but where we come from shows that there is a great potential in this collaboration, depending on our partnership with India, and it is irrespective to the major of different in sizes. And thank you very much once again for having us today here.
Thank you, madam. I would like to invite Minister from Iceland.
Iceland, yes. Now, dear guests, I think what we have here today is the signing of an agreement which is very timely. As has been mentioned, it is about free trade and partnership, but it comes at a time where there is reason to worry because there are so many examples of increased protectionism, and this agreement is going in the other direction. It is opening up for further trade. It is opening up for further partnership and for further cultural science cooperation and research. It is also a signing which is taking place in geopolitical terms where tensions are growing, but it is about freedom and partnership. And let me just point out lastly that I think it is no coincidence that the countries behind the agreement are all democracies, and they are all protecting and fighting for values which need to be protected in the world we today live in. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful to all the people that have put hard work in concluding the agreement, which has now just been signed, and honored to take part. And I'm sure that the agreement will bring prosperity to all those that are signees to it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Friends, we are now open to questions. I would request you to raise your hand, and I would like to give chance to our guests first. So Andrew, if you would like to begin, and you may please, yeah, Mike, please. Yeah, we'll be giving the mic.
Hi, my name is Andreas from Swiss newspaper NZZ. A question for Mr. Promler, Mr. Goyal. You told us about the investment commitments. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, India, over the last 10 or 15 years, saw an investment growth between the EFTA countries and India, which was at about a 13% CAGR every year. But this is also a period where India was evolving. We had a lot of difficulties 10 years ago when we were considered a fragile 5 economy, when we were the 11th largest in the world, which we are today now the 5th already. When we had a lot of issues about high interest rates, inflation, certain political problems in the country. But in the last 10 years, India has developed very strong macroeconomic fundamentals. India has developed outstanding inclusivity across the country in terms of meeting the needs of people's day-to-day requirements, so that a young India with an average age which is less than 30 years today is aspiring for good quality of life and all the good things of life. We expect India to add about $30 trillion to the national GDP in less than 30 years, with a young Indian population of less than 30 years. And that provides a very compelling opportunity for businesses from across the world to come to India, invest in India, leverage on the 3 Ds: democracy, the rule of law, demography, young Indian population, which leads to big demand, and diversity that India offers. We have a young pool of talent, management skills available, which can help technologies from the EFTA countries come to India, invest in India, produce goods and provide services at affordable prices, both to meet the needs of 1.4 billion Indians and to meet the needs of 7 billion people around the world. So it's a very, very natural partnership where two set of countries, India and the EFTA countries, will be working closely to leverage each other's strengths. And when we calculated the growth potential of FDI in the next 15 years, we recognize that with the compounding growth that India is offering, investments getting compounded over the next 15 years, we can easily target and look for $100 billion investment in the next 15 years. This will be good for the investors in the EFTA countries. It will be good for innovators, R&D and other manufacturers of goods and providers of services in Switzerland and Liechtenstein and Norway and Iceland, who are all known for their technologies. And it will be good for India because it will provide 1 million jobs directly, and I don't know how many more indirectly, and effectively becoming a strong bridge between EFTA and India. Thank you.
Perhaps in complement, at the beginning, at the time the ID was launched, we decided to deepen this ID because it was necessary to have good statistic, good for example, IMF statistic or OECD statistic. And I think the best to understand is to ask Mr. Schlagenhoff or Mrs. State Secretary Budliger. It was not just an idea, and after we say, okay, X job, X hundred. We work hard to find a solution, a credible solution for India, for the EFTA countries. How we must take care. You remember you have the COVID crisis. What happened if we have the COVID crisis and suddenly not the growth as normally? All these parameters were analyzed. But perhaps a
Yes.
short word from Mrs. Berlinger.
So I think the principle that we said that we're all looking for a balanced deal was what was guiding us. I think the question I've heard most from you, Minister, was what's in it for India? And if you look at the different market sizes, India offers 1.4 billion population, plus is a door to the global world, and us together we are 15 million. So we had a lot of discussions on how can we make this a balanced deal. But what you have to know about EFTA countries that we are very strong FDIs, foreign direct investors abroad. If I look at Switzerland, we are 7th largest investor, for example, in the US. So why not make this sort of the balanced deal, that we get access to this amazing market, and instead of directing our FDI, which anyway has to flow somewhere, because our home markets are not big enough to capture all, what we're producing within EFTA, then it was decided that pledging for jobs for young Indians and pledging this foreign direct investment makes it a balanced deal. I think the question, how can we get it balanced and what's in it for India, has been guiding us, and rightly so.
I'll invite Additional Secretary Satya sir, Secretary Bartwal sir.
You see, when we looked at this deal, as ministers have also mentioned, I mean, there was a question being asked that since, the industrial tariffs have been reduced by the EFTA countries from 1st of January, particularly Switzerland, and therefore, what was there in the deal for us? And I'm really very happy to say that, when we looked at, and when we look at tariffs are also, in a sense, are great impediments towards manufacturing. And lowering of the tariffs on the India side as well as on their side will give a spur to the investment. We also looked at how the investments over a period of time will grow. We looked at our past history. We looked at that it was hardly $10 billion at that moment, in the last 20 years. And in fact, I must compliment Helene and the other partners that they looked at our profile. They looked at our estimates. They looked at our projections for what will be happening to India in the next 15 years and 25 years. We looked at the growth figures. We also understand the fact that there may be, it is not G2G which will bring those investment alone. And therefore, we are making a very strong partnership in terms of businesses. So we will be having a business forum which will be discussing these, how to spur businesses, how to nudge businesses, how they can make investment plans. And I'm very happy. It is not based on, some kind of wish list. It is based on certain firm commitments which are there and will be built into this EFTA agreement. And we are very sure that those projections will come true. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll take a question from Indian side. Yes, madam, we begin with you.
I'm Shruti Shrivastava from Bloomberg. So my question is, this commitment, the investment commitment, will it come from the public sector or the private sector or both? And sir, also, which sectors on both EFTA and India side would benefit because of this free trade agreement?
Well, the commitment is obviously from the private sector, but it has come after huge engagement, I am told, on the EFTA side with their private sector companies. They have actually drawn up a list of the major sectors which will be looking at investing in India. They have talked to their companies. We have on record a listing of the sectors and the major companies who are looking at large investments. And therefore, it's a very scientific way of discovering the number. It's not as if the number came out of the hat. Probably started from 10 or $15 billion at the initial stage. But as we discuss more and more with industry, as we looked at our pharma industry and talked to them, as we looked at our renewable energy and industry related to the green economy and talked to them, as we studied the industry profile of the 4 countries and India's demand projections into the future, this whole number evolved and a very scientific method was used. Many sectors will benefit. It could be pharmaceutical, it could be machine building, where we have a lot of machinery coming into India as imports. It will be chemicals, dyes, which are also imported in large measure. It will be related to the engineering industry. So it's a very multifarious, very, very well defined and thought through agreement. And I must compliment the industry of both countries, or both set of countries, India and the 4 EFTA countries, for their participation in helping us evolve this absolutely unique, first of its kind agreement ever in the history of the world. By the way, this will reduce the import dependency of India significantly, while also attracting investment and jobs.
Thank you, sir. Times of India.
I'm Siddharth from the Times of India. I have a question for the Swiss minister and for the Norway minister, as well as for Mr. Goel. How will the mechanism be implemented? How will the tariff cuts be linked to the amount of investment flowing in? How are you going to ensure that this commitment is met? What happens if a company comes in and goes out, because that's an autonomous decision, number one. And this for the Norwegian minister. You talked about your funds investing in India. There have been, your funds have this green focus. There are certain sectors where they don't want to take an exposure. Will this be covered by the trade agreement, trade and economic partnership agreement, or those restrictions that they have imposed on themselves in terms of certain sectors where they don't want to take exposure, will that stay?
Before the minister's answer, I'd like to just clarify position so that ministers could take this question. What the trade industry in EFTA countries are looking for is a legal certainty. Legal certainty in terms of a tariff regime, in terms of regulations. What this agreement is providing is that legal certainty, that is the soil is good for the investment. And that certainty is what is prompting for them to come forward and invest. Therefore, it's not tariffs going to go down after Sunday. It's not metered and balanced over a period of time. There is a clear certainty of tariff regime and in terms of services, which is going to spur. With this, Minister, I give it to you.
Before I invite Guy and Jan to talk, just I'd like to share with you that Ultimately, an agreement rests on the platform of trust. And the huge trust that's been generated on both sides. Of course, the agreement provides for the necessary tools to ensure that the investment comes in, and what will be the effect if the investment doesn't come in, what will be the effect if growth is not to the slated levels that we have projected. All of those are addressed in the agreement. So there's a linkage to, as Satya said, certainty, to certain levels of growth with which investments and jobs are linked. And if that growth and if that certainty is maintained, we have absolutely no doubt that the agreement will lead to investment flow, possibly even larger than what we have estimated. But should that not happen, we have created a very robust mechanism where we will mutually work out how that would be handled and what would be the steps taken in case there was any shortfall in investment. So it's a very balanced agreement resting on the pillar of trust and confidence in each other.
Yes, perhaps in complement. In free trade agreement, you have a part of traditional measures. Each party analyzes his offensive, defensive interests, and we try to find where it's possible to approach the other part so that the interests respected. And in this new agreement, we have a part, the investment chapter, for example, who is totally new. It's a new art to negotiate and to try to have at the end a balance with mutual trust and confidence for the future. And it was in the EFTA countries necessary to coordinate, to understand all the mechanism, but for the detail, the negotiators are best as the ministers. They are very analyzed in each detail. But the traditional part of free trade agreement is also very important for India and for EFTA countries. I don't if Jan or...
Thank you for your question. First of all, Norway will eliminate all custom duties for approximately 98% of today's imports from India. And that will go down quite fast, actually. I don't remember the exact numbers now, but when the agreement is implemented, I think we will cover more or less all the important import and exports already. And then after 5 and 10 years, it will be eliminated, which it's really beneficial for the textile industry, flowers, agriculture products, and so on and so on. To your second part of the question regarding the investments, the goal of $100 billion, that's foreign direct investments from our companies. So, for instance, our sovereignty fund, our climate fund, which is already the biggest investors here, they have their own mandates on top of that. And we can't control them where they are going. They are seeking for sustainable profits in a way, and they already have huge investments here. I think our sovereignty fund has invested more than $17 billion US, and it's a good reason for doing that. Everybody should invest in India. It's a great economy. That being said, we don't put any recommendations or mandates to our private sectors. They go where they want to go, and we are now committed to invest and to make sure that we promote investments from our private companies into India, generating approximately 1 million jobs over the next 2 decades.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll take a question from Reuters. Yeah.
Sir, my question is, sir, so on India side, so what is our commitment on the tariff lines, particularly on the gold, dairy products?
That
you could share
that details will be shared with you later.
And secondly, sir, apart from the investment commitment, like, so how much gain in trade and in goods and services trade we are looking at, say, in the next 3 years compared to...
FTAs are not made for 3 years, gentlemen. FTAs
Yes,
are
sir.
made for eternity and for longer periods of time. But clearly, our experience of FTAs done with UAE, Australia and Mauritius in the last few months have demonstrated a huge spurt in bilateral trade with these countries. and we expect significant increase on the two-way trade between EFTA and India, both in goods and services in the next few years.
PTI. So this is this is Rajesh from PTI. So just want to know, can you throw some light on what kind of benefits we are getting in the services part of the agreement?
Well, there's a significant proportion of benefits also related to access to provide services on both sides. There's a significant amount of focus on ensuring that the people from the professionals from both sides can engage in each other's economies to ensure certainty in several sectors, both in India and the EFTA countries, where professionals or companies can provide services, whether it's IT, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's audiovisual, whether it is a number of sectors, business and financial accounting. So a number of sectors have been covered on both sides, and we do believe that services will be one of the pillars, particularly given that the EFTA countries are both importers and exporters of services in big measure, just like India is a big importer and exporter of services. So services are a very, very important pillar of this agreement, just like investment and trade in goods.
Yes, madam.
If I may, just want to add, I told you before the first principle was to have a balanced deal, but then I think the second principle, which we also respected, Minister Goyal, was each other's sensitivities. And I just want to make sure, because that's important for our farmers, that both of us have sensitivities in agriculture, and that was something which was sort of easy. You could tell me what your sensitivities are. We would have loved, I'll give you an example, exported more Swiss cheese to India, and he said stop. That's very, very sensible. And then on the other hand, you had some requests, and I had to say stop. This is Swiss agricultural policy. I cannot concede. So I think that was also working very well. You heard the numbers from Norway. I mean, you have really literally opened up your market for Indian products. We have granted 99% access to Switzerland, and we received, and I don't know, now you tell me maybe I negotiated not so well, but you gave me 95%, but it's 1.4 billion people. So I thought 95% was also a good deal. But really, please take note that we really respected each other's sensibilities. I think that's absolutely key.
We'll take a last couple of questions. Rajiv ji.
सर मैं दैनिक जागरण से हूँ राजीव सर मेरा सवाल है कि इस एफ्टा से जो टेपा हुआ है सर तो अगले 15 सालों में $100 बिलियन का निवेश होगा लेकिन हमारे एक्सपोर्टर्स के लिए किन किन सेक्टर में ये जो 4 कंट्री हैं जिनके साथ हमारा एग्रीमेंट हुआ है तो हमारे एक्सपोर्टर्स के लिए किन किन सेक्टर में हम दरवाज़ा खुलेगा और दूसरा सर क्या हम स्विट्ज़रलैंड के चॉकलेट और घड़ी को भी इंडिया में सस्ते दाम पर देख सकेंगे?
मुझे लगता है कि कई ऐसे क्षेत्र हैं जिसमें दोनों तरफा लाभ होगा। हमारे एक्सपोर्टर्स को इस टीपा के माध्यम से सिर्फ इनके 4 देशों में लाभ नहीं होगा, इनके 4 देशों के माध्यम से कई हमारे ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स हैं जो आज के दिन दुनिया में नहीं पहुंच पाते, लेकिन हमारे वो प्रोडक्ट्स अगर इन देशों में जाते हैं, वहाँ पे प्रोसेस होते हैं, वहाँ पे वैल्यू ऐड होता है, तो उससे और कई देशों की मार्केट्स भारत के लिए खुलती है। इसी प्रकार से इनके निवेश और इनकी टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से जो यहाँ पे उत्पादन बढ़ेगा भारत में, उससे भी हम एक पूरे विश्व में कई ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स हैं जो पहुंचा पाएंगे, जो बेच पाएंगे, जो निर्यात कर पाएंगे। अगर एक उदाहरण लूं तो आज भारत ने ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन और सोलर टेक्नोलॉजी और विंड एनर्जी के ऊपर उत्पादन बढ़ाने में बहुत अहम कदम उठाए। अब ये चारों देश ऐसे हैं जो पर्यावरण को बहुत ज़्यादा अहमियत देते हैं और उसके कारण हमारी जो ग्रीन एनर्जी की थ्रस्ट है, जो हम चाहते हैं कि रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी में भारत एक विश्व शक्ति बने, उसको बहुत बड़ी मार्केट मिलेगी इन देशों में। विंड एनर्जी के प्रोड्यूसर्स, सोलर एनर्जी के इक्विपमेंट के प्रोड्यूसर्स, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन और आगे चल के ग्रीन अमोनिया जो भारत में बड़े रूप में हम बनाना चाहते हैं, ये सब भी ऐसे स्रोत हैं जहाँ पे भारत को बहुत बड़ी मार्केट मिलेगी। वैसे ही नई टेक्नोलॉजीज जो इनके देशों से, निवेश जो इनके देशों से आएगा, उससे बने हुए जो सामान है उसका निर्यात हम फिर 200 देशों में करेंगे विश्व में।
Thank you, sir. And a very brief translation of the question. They were asking whether we'll be able to get Swiss cheese, Swiss chocolates and Swiss watches here.
Swiss cheese will not be given any special preferences because, as Helen just mentioned, dairy and agriculture being sensitive sectors on both sides, it was very easy to keep them broadly out of the agreement, and that way there was a good balance that we were able to create.
Yes, in complement, I can say. I can say all in agricultural sector, all the sensitive products for India or for EFTA countries are accepted. No change. It was very important to say that. And this free trade agreement is a framework. The governments facilitate investments, commerce, trade on goods, services, and after it's for the companies, the businesses to develop that, to use these instruments. We can accompany that. We do that with the minister here, with the governments. But yes, actually, the next stage, it's necessary that the companies and the private sector invest and work hard. We do the job. You must do the job, actually.
And now, positively, the last question. CNBC.
Hi, sir. Asim from CNBC. Sir, it's good to know that agriculture products are kept out of this. But can you highlight 2-3 major products where the tariffs will be lower?
See, for example, India imports a lot of machinery. Now, if we currently see the situation, we are dependent totally on 1 or 2 geographies for machinery. And instead of substandard machinery, we would rather have high quality machinery coming to India. That will help our dairy sector, that will help our food processing sector, that will help our pharma sector. So machinery is one very important element that we see will play a bridge between the EFTA countries and India. Similarly, we have a lot of agriculture produced in India, as do the EFTA countries. I think the agriculture produced in India, rather than exporting it only as a raw agricultural produce, using Swiss technologies and their investment, when we process that in India and package it with modern standards, we'll be able to get a good value for India's agricultural produce, and our farmers' income can increase with a better international market rather than just sending or selling to exporting the basic agricultural produce. So like that, we have systematically looked at every item and come up with a huge list of potential areas where the EFTA technologies and investment coupled with Indian manpower, skills and talent collectively will become a source for India to supply to across the world and to the EFTA countries. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all the dignitaries for being with us and explaining the agreement in such a great detail. Thank you, friends from the media, for being with us. Thank you. We bring this session to a close.
Naresh, आगे देना